Hey there! It has been about 8 months since I bought this machine here, Flair Pro 2, and I have been improving my process ever since by using some additional gadgets. Today I will talk about those gadgets, so without further ado, let's jump right into it. So before we start, let me mention a couple of things here. First and foremost, I can predict that many of you are familiar with most of the things that I'm going to talk about. But I still see value in showing all of them since I don't know what you have. I'll start from the cheaper ones to more expensive ones, and it's up for you to decide whether they are worth having in your process or not. Okay, let's start with number 1, the shower screen grabber. Making sure that the brief components are heated well is very important when using Flair Pro 2. And sometimes I put my shower screen into hot water or on the top of the brief chamber. This is a trick that I saw on Flair Facebook group. You just glue a small magnet on top of your dosing chamber and off you go. So it can grab that like this. Number 2, steam heating base. I'm using a Turkish teapot for boiling water, and this piece was already a part of it. But I'm sure you can find similar things that you can use for your kettle. Heating the brew chamber with steam is the most efficient way, and this helps a lot to make sure that the steam is channeled into the brew chamber. So if I were to demonstrate this, so as you can see, it fits perfectly. Next up, DIY distribution tool. Grinding for espresso means getting lots of clumps, so you need to distribute them well for an even extraction without having channeling. For this one, I used a cork and acupuncture needles. You can also use paper clips too, but they are quite thick compared to these. It's also a good idea to twist the tips of the needles so they don't scratch your portafilter. I also have a fancier version of this, but to be honest, I cannot say it's superior to the DIY version. Well, except for the look, obviously. Now, the scale. I started with what I had, which is a very simple kitchen scale, which measures in grams, and it can barely fit under the Flair. And then I got this. You definitely need a small scale like this that can measure more precisely, because even the half of a gram can make noticeable differences in the output. This one also has a timer, which makes it easier to keep the track of time compared to using your phone or something else. Okay, here comes the stellar, the leveler. From the very first day, the tamping was quite hard for me to get right. The tamper that comes with Flair, it is really cute, but if you can be very obsessive sometimes like me, you'll get a hard time tamping evenly. So, after much consideration, I decided to purchase this leveler from a business called Crema Coffee Products. I'm quite impressed with it. Not only it looks great, it also works great, and I don't have to worry about whether my tamp is uneven or faulty. This one is not too cheap because it is custom made for Flair's portafilter, but it has been definitely worth the price for me. Right, so another one that I find very useful is a shot mirror like this. So it doesn't have to be as fancy as this one, but any mirror can do, as long as you are able to put it in a way that you can observe how your shot is coming out, because then you can actually react on the fly to your pressure or to your timing whatsoever. And the last one, the grinder. Don't hate me for being the Captain Obvious here, but I think I have right to say this, since I buried my head in the sand about this at the beginning of my espresso journey. I somehow thought that I could get away with using a simpler grinder, but it just doesn't work that way. Not only about the price, but it's also about the grinder producing good enough for espresso. It's really hard to identify what's wrong in your process until you get your grinds right. If you don't have the budget for an electric grinder, go for a hand grinder. Just make sure that it grinds well for espresso. Ask in the Flair Facebook page. If you are shy, just search for grinder in that page. There are lots of questions and answers. But just be sure that you need a good grinder if you want good espresso. So that's it. I'll make sure to leave the links of the products in the description. If you have more time, you can watch me pull a shot of espresso in the rest of the video. See you on the next time, and as always, enjoy your coffee.